Hey, welcome to the Neka Said podcast. And if you're new here, I'm Neka Williams, a planner girl, mom to an 8-year-old husband, and a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan. At the end of 2016, I was happily fired from Amazon, which jumped off this online journey. After signing 2 clients within 10 days and booking out my services as a virtual assistant, I was thrown as the Facebook queen, and Coach Neka was born. All that to say, I'm a virtual assistant and a VA coach helping women realize they don't have to choose between work and their family. You can have both. And if you're looking for financial freedom while also having family focus, this is the podcast for you. You'll learn how to grow a business that fits into your personal life and not the other way around. Welcome back to another episode of the Neka Said podcast. And today I'm going to talk a lot about how to avoid scams when you're working online. And so in the beginning, when I started working online as a virtual assistant, I went to Upwork a lot to look for kind of some gigs or jobs that I can kind of get my feet wet and start branching off into actually starting my virtual assistant business. And I was definitely scared of like showing up online and actually putting myself out there. So I thought Upwork was a great way that I could kind of stay behind the scenes, but actually make some money in my business. And honestly, that was the worst idea that I could have ever thought about. Now looking at how I am able to sign clients and connect with clients by showing up through Facebook groups and building my community on Facebook, in the virtual assistant club, I was missing out on a lot of connections, not just business connections, but so many friends that I have made in these last 2 years of actually being online. So I've seen a lot of people inside of my Facebook group, on Facebook period, online, talking about a lot of different scams that are going around and how they were almost scammed and how somebody actually inside of my Facebook group was scammed while trying to find a virtual assistant gig on Upwork. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the top red flags, like common scams that I've seen and that I've seen others kind of report back to me with too. Avoid going through all of these things and actually make your business profitable. So the number one thing that I see kind of on Upwork and in Facebook groups or on Facebook or social media period is that some people will post that they're looking for a virtual assistant, but they don't really give you too many kind of job details. So they will say, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant. They must be in the US. They kind of keep it broad and general that it kind of fits anybody who is a virtual assistant or kind of wants to be a virtual assistant. And so if they're not giving you too many job details, and even if you reach out through email or messenger and they're still not giving too many job details, and they're kind of not open to jumping on the phone with you to kind of give the details of the job, then that's most likely a scam. Because any entrepreneur is so happy and willing to tell you more about what they need you to do for them. And if they're not, then it's like, how will you actually be able to perform any kind of task for them? So definitely stay away from anybody who is not really willing to give you information about the job or the task that they need help with. So that's number one that I've seen. And then number two I've seen is they would kind of do the same thing, or they may give you a little more details regarding the job, but they list a extremely high pay for very basic tasks. And so that is definitely a red flag. We know the level of experience or the level of difficulty of the task, then of course the pay will increase that way. But if it's super basic, then we all know that it's probably going to be basic or minimum rates that they will be offering to pay. So make sure if it's like super high, I know sometimes we're like too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, then you may want to stay away from it. How do I kind of avoid these scams a little bit too is I normally receive my full payment up front with a signed contract. And so if they're willing to pay and they sign the contract, then I can go ahead and render services. So that's another way you can kind of like get around that scam too. 3, what I've been seeing is especially on Upwork, they will ask for a lot of super sensitive personal information. So they will maybe ask for a copy of your ID, or they will ask for a copy of your social security card, or they will ask for your banking information, like your routing account number. And so you do not need to send any of that information if you're working with someone. I have a tax ID that I can definitely send to different business owners if they need that information to maybe for their taxes or whatever it is. But you do not need to send anyone your personal banking information, because you can use a payment processing system that can handle the payments for you. So they can go ahead and pay through PayPal or Square or Stripe, and then you will receive their payment that way. So you do not need to exchange banking information. And then this kind of leads into the next scam that I've been seeing a lot on Upwork, is that the client will ask you to, they will send you a check or deposit it inside of your banking account. And then they will ask you to withdraw those funds and wire them to them for equipment or certain kind of different kind of details they advise you. So they may say, we need you to, you are collecting a payment from someone, then you need to send it to us. But any means, if someone is depositing a check inside of your account and asking you to quickly withdraw that check and or those funds and then wire them to them, is definitely a scam. I have seen personally, someone has reached out to me and messaged me that they did this, and then of course the check was fake, and so their bank account was blocked. So you don't want to give that personal information, that banking information. You don't want to take any kind of checks or anything. Like I said before, you want to use a payment processing system if they are sending you any kind of funds. And PayPal is definitely good for that, because you can dispute any kind of wrongdoings. So if they're asking you to wire money, that is like kind of like the number one sign for me that, no, this is not real. And especially sometimes they will ask you, they will say they're depositing money into your account, or they want you to send them money to kind of like pay for equipment. And I've seen so many people get scammed that way too, because of course the equipment is non-existent. They just want your money. So make sure you're using a payment processing system. Make sure you are definitely being aware of all those red flags. And then I also have another one that I've seen a lot on Upwork, is they will ask you to have an interview through Google Hangout. So it's not video, it's just text. So they will ask you questions like your name, your address, and all this kind of stuff through text, instead of jumping on the phone with you and actually having an interview. So if they are only willing to talk to you through like Google Hangout, like text or different things like that, then most likely it's a scam, especially at the end of the conversation if they're asking you to send them money or asking you to deposit checks into your account, because that's normally what it leads to. So those are a lot of the scams that I have seen. And so make sure you are watching out for these red flags. Make sure you have your payment processor. Make sure you have a contract to kind of cover your butt. And so make sure you are being well aware of different things that are going around online. So always go with your gut, stick with your gut. If it doesn't feel right, then don't go for it. I think a lot of people too, they kind of like push off the red flags, or they act like they don't see them because they are so desperate to sign that client. And so make sure you're looking out for yourself. Of course, we want to do well in our business, make our business profitable, but we don't want to get scammed in the meanwhile. So that's all I have for today on this episode of the Neka Said podcast. Make sure you subscribe right on iTunes or on SoundCloud. Make sure you leave me a review, and make sure you come hang out with us inside of the Virtual Assistant Club on Facebook. That is a private Facebook group. And go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Coach Neka. So I will see you in another one. Thank you so much for your love and support, and I'll be back for another one. Thank you so much for joining me today, and make sure you check back next week for another amazing episode with actionable tips to grow your online business. In the meantime, leave a review and let me know your thoughts on today's episode. And if you want to see what I'm up to, check out my Instagram page at Coach Neka. Come hang out with other women on the same journey in the private free Facebook group, the Virtual Assistant Club. And remember, every day you're one step closer to the dream life you want. Keep going, girlfriend.